Welcome to Salve, a therapeutic podcast for digital ailments. We're here to ease your online aches and entrepreneurial anxieties, one session at a time. With our host, Jordan Brannon, and today's guests, Gustavo and Jimnah from Coalition Technologies. Today's worrying condition, the malaise caused by chasing miracle cures and snake oil solutions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Salve, where we cure your digital aches and pains. Today, we're going to be jumping in and dealing with miracle cures, things that have been rumored to make life easy and to take care of your problems, but often come with some pretty rough side effects. I've got two special guests joining us from Coalition Technologies who will introduce themselves, and we'll jump into today's particular pain point. I'll kick it over to you, Gus, and you could talk about your role, and then we'll go to you, Jimnah.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Gustavo. People at Coalition call me Gus. I've been at Coalition for almost 8 years now. For a brief stint, I was away, but I came back. I joined as a graphic designer, became a design team lead for the marketing team, and then now I'm currently the marketing coordinator at Coalition Technologies. I'm excited to talk about this.
Hey everyone, I'm glad to be here. My name is Jimnah. I'm the marketing design team lead at Coalition. I've actually been here for over 5 years now, and I took over after Gus left. I lead a team of very talented individuals, from designers to video specialists. We handle various service lines like email, social media, Amazon, etc. And I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. And so, again, we're specifically diving in on the miracle cure of AI in design. From the moment we started getting LLMs that were capable of producing imagery and even basic video or basic editing impacts, we started hearing about it like it was going to end design as we know it, and AI would take over and do everything. Real quickly, guys, how real is that? I mean, has AI eliminated the need for human designers and expert designers? Is it really that easy to use and produce professional results? Gus, maybe we go to you first.
Sure. Yeah. I think I have a good analogy for that. So somewhat recently, probably around the same time that AI became a big thing in the marketing world, there was the rise of the weight loss medications like Ozempic, Mounjaro. And the thing is, they work, but it can be misused. And people oversell how good it works or how it needs to be used in order for it to work, right? So if you use it properly, you're seeing a doctor, you're exercising, you're trying to improve your eating habits, you're taking care of your mental health, amazing. You're going to lose weight, you're going to improve your health overall with those tools. And those tools will allow you to do that faster and more effectively. On the other hand, if you are not exercising, you are not trying to improve your eating habits, you are not seeing the doctor, you're just taking random dosages with no support or medical supervision, you're going to gain all the way back. Maybe you're not even going to lose anything. Some people are taking it and they don't even need it, so they end up just wasting money on a tool that was not needed for them. And I feel like in the realm of design and marketing, AI is a lot like that. Like, people are taking it because everyone talks about how amazing it is, but they misuse it. So a lot of people, and us at Coalition, use it correctly as a tool that it is, and it can maximize results. It can improve quality. It can improve how fast you can generate those good results. But if you don't do it properly, it can backfire, and there are plenty examples out there of companies hurting because of that. Around 2021, 2022, when this whole thing started, AI-generated images would look plasticky, I guess. That's not the case anymore. Like, the latest versions of those image generation, video generation tools, by now they are pretty good. They got better at adherence to the prompts that you give them, but it is not this magic solution, because what you will find is that more often than not, it requires at least a few levels of human intervention, be it at the beginning of the process, at prompting, or after the fact, QAing, tweaking the results?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, to pick up from where you left, for most of the mundane tasks like extending backgrounds, improving quality, it usually saves a lot of time. But if you have to generate like an original art piece, it takes a while because you really have to think through the prompts, what kind of audience you want the image to communicate to, etc. So when you're doing those kinds of more complicated tasks that have very clear results that have to be achieved with the visuals, then that's why you need to be extremely careful in order to not have issues. So, for example, we've had clients who have, say, images that were shot on solid color backgrounds, but then they would like their audiences to see more context. But then if you use AI, you are very likely to end up with images that have a lot of mistakes. If the products themselves have labels, AI will definitely mess up the writing. Even if you get the prompt nailed down correctly, you still have to do a whole bunch of extra processing after the fact. So whenever we end up having to use AI to either enhance products or change environments or those kinds of very complex tasks, you actually have to really do a whole bunch of QA. You have to check every detail thoroughly.
So I want to touch on, one of the current myths, I mean, when we first started using image generation, we ran into like the odd artifacts, extra fingers, random eyes being placed in strange locations. If you had crowds of people, you'd have like, the weird like head twisted around while the body's going the other way, the kind of oddly blurred faces that had kind of a Picasso effect. Text had some similar issues. It almost looked like a written word, but wasn't. Are those issues still prevalent in commercially available, popular AI image generation or design tools, or have they largely been fixed?
Yes and no, I would say. Like it's better, definitely like 1,000% better. By now, the tools are more reliable. Like if you ask them to generate a person doing something, it's more likely to look like a person doing the thing that you asked for, not like a weird creature with too many arms and not enough fingers and a nightmare-inducing face. So in a general sense, yes, it's fixed. It's a problem of the past. That said, as the tools evolve, so does the expectations of users. Nowadays, like, it won't be just gibberish. Any text that is generated, it's likely going to have actual words with actual meaning, but it will get like 1 or 2 words off, like, and it will be misspelled, and it will be just like weirdly aligned or something like that. Maybe the faces all look correct, but 3 people look exactly the same, right? Is way too repetitive, or some sort of weird glitch or artifact that tells people like, hey, that was AI generated. Like the foreground, everything on the foreground looks amazing, but if you start looking at the background, that dog has 5 legs, right? Stuff like that. So for most people, it's passable, but for brands who are putting money behind those uses of AI, that can backfire. Not only it can cheapen the look of a brand, and for some brands like in luxury, that's particularly important, but it can also just look scammy. Like, right, you're running Facebook ads and there's like typos and there's like weird proportions or something. People might not click your ad because it looks scammy. It doesn't look trustworthy.
So part of what you're seeing is like the issues are still present. They sound like they're kind of the same issues. They've just maybe moved into the background a little bit. Jimnah, are you seeing anything different? I mean, do you feel like it's again, like in places of more complexity or higher detail, it's more obvious? Or do you feel like it still shows up kind of often, or even sometimes maybe unexpectedly, like you get 10 good images and all of a sudden one has got creepy fingers?
I'd say actually it's the main challenge we usually face, and this is so common. Whenever you need to change, say, a background of a product image, an actual physical product. For example, bullets. We have one of the brands that we do amazing designs for who sells ammunition. So if you use AI to kind of tweak the background, it will change the form of the bullets, the products themselves. And this is so common. So what we end up doing is actually replacing the product images that the AI tool generates in Photoshop. Okay. So it definitely has improved. Most of those issues that we used to face before are still there, but to a lesser degree. So what you have to do is to really, really thoroughly check all aspects of anything that you're generating.
So if we're saying AI can do more, but you now have this added layer of extra QA that's being added, that QA becomes the pain point, is that still a meaningful time savings? Or are we really just saying like AI allows us to do things for brands that couldn't have done them before? So like a client didn't have lifestyle imagery for their product and wasn't going to be able to afford to make lifestyle imagery for their product. And so now they can approximate that in some way. Is that sort of the biggest value of AI, or are there other places where, again, AI is really the miracle cure that people are making it out to be?
No, it's absolutely meaningful, and it actually saves a lot of time, because what you'd have to do without AI is to extract the subject, download a whole bunch of background images. Sometimes you may not actually find one image that has everything that you need, so you have to combine several. And that process ends up taking too long, especially at the end where you have to apply all manner of color correction and effects to make it look seamless and harmonious. Mm-hmm. So to that end, even though AI has some downfalls, it definitely absolutely saves a whole bunch of time.
All right. And then, so what are the biggest traps that you run into right now using good tools and commercial tools? And is it in those higher complexity use cases, or what are the most common issues you think people will run into trying to use AI for advertising?
I would say that people run into a few different issues. First of all, bad prompting. There are two kinds or two flavors of bad prompting. First of all is just the lazy prompts. Us as designers, we deal with that and have dealt with that for a long time because people were usually prompting us. And if people tell you, hey, I need a banner for fashion e-commerce, you say, sure, banner to go where? Banner to sell what? To whom, where and how and when it will be used, etc. Right? If you are as vague and confusing and unclear and lazy with your prompts to AI, the difference is that a designer or an agency or a writer or any sort of creative would push back, would say like, hey, I don't have enough information. Please clarify so I can do the thing that you need from me the best way possible. AI will assume whatever it thinks you mean. Like you will ask for something and you will get something that is absolutely unlike anything that you imagine that it would generate. And if you look back at the prompt, it has a lot with, okay, I didn't provide any details. It's on me, like it's my bad. But at the same time, I feel like people simply misunderstand how AI works and how those machines think because they don't think like humans do. As designers or a photographer, a writer, an illustrator would be like, okay, this is what you need. So this is the process that I will go through to understand your needs, to ideate, whatever, right? The best way to think about that is text. You would think about the general topic, you would look up information, you would write an intro and then the body and then the conclusion and maybe review the whole thing to see if you change their mind about anything. AIs are just guessing. Like in the case of text generation, they are essentially guessing what is the next word that makes sense for this context based on its previous training. For image generation, for video generation, it is just guessing pixels, pretty much, right? Or frames within a video. It's more complex than that, but this is a good way to like simplify it, I guess. So whenever you're talking to an AI as if it was a human, it works because it was trained to do that. But you're missing the point of like what sorts of instructions it can get. And you can even ask for too much. Too many instructions, the AI starts losing track of whatever you asked. And then you get into a completely different sort of issue than being lazy with your prompts, which is being too aggressive or too intense with your prompts. And I would say another thing that I see people missing the mark on is just like unrealistic expectations and tool mismatch. So like people using ChatGPT for everything, expecting that to be amazing at everything when that's not usually the case, right?
Oh yeah, so we actually experienced this kind of a scenario a while back with one of the brands that we do social media marketing for. So essentially, what they are a fashion brand, and they did want for their Instagram page to have almost all the content be AI generated, because the owner of the brand is actually has a very creative mind, and the kind of images and videos that they wanted us to generate or create for them, some of them would have been too complex, which would have actually gone above budget hours. So what we've been doing is we tested that strategy for a while. And then we realized that most people are against AI, no matter how good the assets that you generate look. So we are kind of having to trace back to the beginning. So we are balancing between AI-generated content and the cinematic kind of assets that the client would like. So the unrealistic expectations. So especially when your expectations don't align with your audience.
And that's something that is like, I think that's something that Jordan was touching on before, about like how certain things wouldn't be doable for certain brands due to time constraints or money constraints, right? AI can definitely help with that. So like if you have a very creative, cool idea that you want to make happen, especially for video, in the past, it would be impossible for 95 or more % of brands to hire a filming crew and a studio and lighting and cameras and post-production, special effects. You can do a lot of that with AI. But expecting things to be as easy as, I need this video with this things happening, and that's the first result that you're going to get is going to be amazing, and it's going to be 1 minute long and have product placement, and like, that's not how things will actually work. In reality, you will prompt it once and it will not look that great, and you do it again and you will wonder why it wasn't the thing that you asked for. And then the third one will look good, but it will be 5 seconds long, and you need to make it longer, and you need to continue with the story for that ad or that social media post. And that process by itself can lead to frustration. I imagine, especially for like business owners trying to do that for themselves. Whenever we see us as designers as the middle ground, like the business owner talking to us, asking us to use AI, their expectation is that it's as easy as typing something and it just generates it magically. And in reality, it's not like that. And I mentioned two mismatch, right? Nano Banana, Google's image generation thing that is amazing, that everyone loves. It's really good at photorealism. Midjourney is very good at very stylized artistic imagery. Firefly, Adobe's AI tool that is available inside of Photoshop, is really good for tweaking existing images, be those existing images AI generated or not. Figuring out which is the best model to do whatever is the thing that you need from it. For video, you have VO3, you have Sora 2. That by itself requires trial and error many times, because you might think, okay, Nano Banana is amazing for photorealism, and then the best result you get is from something else. That by itself requires some time, some effort. Sometimes you need to find a stock image for it to reference so that it can follow a similar pose or similar something. And also, people expect the free tools to do the same as the paid tools. Usually not the case. Google wouldn't allow you to use the best version of Nano Banana for free. So having access to those paid tools as well helps a lot, right?
Does the personalization of LLMs based on history create problems in terms of output? So one of the things I've noticed with like text is that ChatGPT and Gemini both jump threads when I'm asking them to write something or do something in a new way or a different topic. They tend to backwards incorporate. And I actually noticed I was creating a coloring page for my son, my 6-year-old son, using ChatGPT, and I noticed it's a mosasaur that's jumping out of the water, which is a cool water dinosaur. And all of a sudden, in the water droplets, there's flowers. For some reason, there's these like orchid-like flowers, and a few prompts before it, in a separate conversation, I had a coloring page made for my other daughter that had a floral dress. And so I was like, oh, like ChatGPT is somehow roping into this dinosaur coloring page a prompt from a different conversation. Does that create issues for designers who are working across a lot of different brands and a lot of different outputs? Do you ever see your LLMs, sort of bring in undesirable content or things, influences from other conversations?
Yeah, so for paid tools, right, we use something called Replicate. Replicate is a platform that allows you to run a bunch of different models within that, like as an API. What happens there is that it's more self-contained. So if you make one request, it's going to be just that one request. You can reference existing images, existing styles, but it won't really pull from anything else. But sometimes I'll just go to like the chat version of Gemini or ChatGPT and ask for something because I'm like, okay, I feel like the free version can deal with that pretty quickly and pretty easily. And then exactly what you described happens, right? Like a previous conversation that had nothing to do with that might be pulled up. And especially if you're within one conversation trying to make tweaks, like, oh, that's perfect, but change the color of this to that. Whatever was the previous instruction is already forgotten. It goes back to the previous version and then it does the new instruction. Sometimes it even ignores like the instructions at all. Like it reverts back to the first version. So the conversational aspects of trying to do image generation is really bad, at least right now.
So we've kind of identified some of the different pain points associated with using AI. Let's talk about some of the best treatments. I've heard you guys on a couple of occasions mention commercial tools and also talk about prompting as being the sort of the common solve, and maybe also just a little bit of expectation setting. Can you jump in and talk to me a little bit about best practices with prompting for design, for images, for banners, for video? What are some of the maybe give me your 3 best tips or tricks for good outcomes with any of those or all of those?
So the main I see many people doing is thinking that AI can kind of predict what kind of product you want it to generate. So what I would advise people to do is assume you're talking to a person and give them as much information as they need to make the decisions that would lead to the outcome that you're looking for. So, for example, describe the environment. If you'd like AI to generate a person, describe the age, the gender, all aspects that describe a person's physical appearance. So in general, don't take shortcuts. Don't give very short, brief prompts. Try to be as direct as you can be. I know people may face problems speaking a design language. So if you want to generate a banner, which I wouldn't advise, because for brands, you really have to ensure that your brand identity is maintained. So the fonts that you use, the spacing, how you style your CTAs, AI is very unlikely to nail that down unless it's a specific tool that has been created for that. But in regards to prompting, give it more information, and it's usually a very good idea to leave a note in there that AI should ask you clarifying questions.
And I would say that like on that note, remembering that you're dealing with image generation, providing samples is very good, and explaining those samples. So you can provide one image that is like this is a reference for the pose that I want, or this is a reference for the facial features, or this is a reference for the style of the image to be generated. For non-designers or people who are not as involved in like photography or illustration or arts or anything like that, it's a bit trickier, but you can refer to specific like lenses or specific camera models or specific illustration styles or artists that you want to emulate the style. Those sorts of things help push the AI to understand the specific aesthetic that you're looking for. So if you're specifying like professional cameras with a specific sort of lenses and you say that it's supposed to look cinematic, it will look more polished and like overproduced, I guess. But if you say taken with an iPhone, candid photography, it will look more handmade, more like casual, right? Which is good for social media, for example. But to Jimnah's point, one thing that I think is crucial here is, and goes back to the point of the expectation setting, AI is still very bad at designing. The process of designing and that's not because we are designers. Like, of course, the designers would say that the AI is bad at design, but it's like, it's true. Good design is subjective, but many things play into what is a good design. A good designer needs to know the design fundamentals of alignment, proximity, repetition, contrast. You need to understand UX, platform requirements, branding, creative writing to a certain extent, right? All of those things play into, okay, they give you the basic tools to work with, knowing how to use Photoshop, for example, as well. But then you need to think about, okay, what is a good design for this industry or for this product or for this service? A design that is good for one industry is not good for another industry. A good design for one brand within that industry might not be good for another brand within that industry. For a platform, like, are you doing organic social media? Are you doing paid ads? Are you doing image for a website? What is the audience, right? All of those things go into designing, and AIs are incapable of getting that context. The best that you can do is to provide a sample, but even then, it won't have all of those considerations. AI really shines at solving things that play into design, removing backgrounds, simple edits, change someone's hair color, change someone's shirt color, upscaling low resolution images. Like, that's amazing. Like, there are tools that allow you to take an image that looks tiny and pixelated and make that look high res. Extending image backgrounds, color correction, like this image looks overexposed or underexposed. I can fix that with AI. So those are the places where AI really shines, ideating, research, brainstorming, but trying to get a fully fledged banner design to use for your ad campaign for your e-commerce, probably not the best idea.
Another thing to consider there, why you shouldn't generate like an entire banner with AI is later down the road, you may need to make some revisions, either to the copy or to the products or any aspect of the banner. And AI will most likely not produce the same exact result as it did before. So you may end up with a whole new banner when probably the banners from the previous campaign were working, and you only needed to tweak one of the aspects in order to see whether they would perform better. But then AI would give you a whole new different banner, which would kind of throw off your strategy.
All right, well, I want to jump into tools as a way of closing us out. Are there particular paid or commercial tools you view as being table stakes if you're going to participate in AI for design? What are they?
I mentioned before Replicate. I feel like that's a good, easy way to have access to the paid versions of the best models available out there. In terms of the specific models, the ones that are like the standard right now, Nano Banana for image generation, Stable Diffusion as well. Photoshop has an AI inside of it, which is Adobe's Firefly. I'm not the biggest fan of it by itself, but within that context, I really like it. For video, we have VO3 and Sora 2 that are really, really good and that most people are familiar with by now, I guess, like at least on the social media world. But we need to keep in mind that those things are changing constantly, and that the best tools right now might not be the best tools tomorrow. So I would be very careful with just taking that list and finding the tools that are good right now and sticking with that forever. It's really important in the AI world, as it is right now, to make sure that we are staying on top of the latest developments, the latest models and everything.
Jimnah, anything from you?
So the main one I'd like to point out is we've been using FreePic AI to generate images and videos recently. And the main thing that's super interesting about it is that it has a node-based editor where you can generate a whole bunch of variations and make individual tweaks to each of them without losing... it's a kind of different experience from chat, where you'd, for example, have to ask it to kind of refer to a variation that it had created before. And with this node-based editing, it allows you to generate both videos and images at the same time, and multiple of them.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys and your expertise here today. For those of you listening, I hope that you found this helpful and we've helped treat and cure your digital ailments and aches and pains and maybe prevented you from falling for that miracle cure trap the next time you are looking to finish something with AI-assisted design. Until next time, make sure you are following us on all of the major podcast and video platforms and connecting with us via coalitiontechnologies.com if you need some support on your digital marketing campaigns.